Onininda Anikubijigan. I see your spirit in the wind and flame. My ancestors' relations, unborn generations. We walk this road together, one and the same. From the ancient words of God on a bed, a truth that flows like rivers deep. In the Misquabicoji be way, a calling for all hearts to keep. We are spirit men, spirit women, the people, ignited by the great peacemaker's flame. From the first light to the life we share, we remember, we carry his name. We are spirit men, spirit women, the people, ignited by the great peacemaker's flame. From the first light to the life we share, we remember, we carry his name, his name. Before the world was shaped from dust, he formed the fire, the great flower of life. Let there be light, he said to the void, and light was born to conquer strife. Inscribed in the red and metal writings, his truth stands bold through time's embrace. The living creator, the great peacemaker, who walked among us with infinite grace. We are spirit men, spirit women, the people, ignited by the great peacemaker's flame. From the first light to the life we share, we remember, we carry his name. In April of 2025, we release his story's truth alive, so the world may know and never forget the Creator's steps in the earth's silhouette. We are spirit men, spirit women, people, guided by the Creator's eternal flame.
Welcome in to Zion Media, everybody. We got ourselves 31 people here, and we are live. This is not a premiere, which, as you may or may not know, how we do premieres is we record them, and then we launch them, and you get to have all the ability of the live chat that we normally benefit from. But today we're live, and we're joined by Hugh, as you guys know him, as Hook Jones. What's up, Hook? Howdy, howdy. And Hook is from Western New York, very near Hill Cumorah. We've had him and his brother on before, if you guys remember. They're the ones that told us about the legends of the plates in the Hill Cumorah from the local Seneca Tribe, and just really cool urban story of Joseph Smith place. If you haven't seen that podcast, go backwards and see it. Audio feedback on yours, so maybe hit mute until you're talking because they're just getting a little bit of feedback. And then we've got Heather Bingham. below, Virginia native and community leader. And basically Hook reached out to Shane and I and just said, hey, been having a lot of great conversations with Heather about preparing our societies, our civilizations, and our communities, and really local government for Zion, and not waiting for leaders to do it, not waiting for somebody to say, hey, you guys should go and do this, but us actually putting that mantle on ourselves and stepping forward and doing that. And so we're gonna get in deep to it. We'll have a conversation, introduce Heather, and as we're waiting, we started off with the video that you guys saw, and it's called Copper, and this is a video about the very first birch bark scrolls that are being released this April. The cool thing about this, I'm getting goosebumps talking about. The cool thing about this is there's so many people being like, there's never going to be anything released. I've been hearing about these birch bark scrolls for whatever time. Well, this baby's coming out, and some of us have already seen a preview of the first 3 pages of it, and it is beautiful. It's an entire creation story. So Shane's been reading out of the temple writings from the book of Nemenha. And it's a creation story. This is a different creation story, but it's the same story.
And Trevor, we have Mitiga coming back on, right? We got him coming back on. He's going to be talking about this soon. Hey, Mitiga, if you're watching this, love you, dog. Love you, love you, love you. Excited for you to come back on Zion Media. And I read him as well. Incredible. I'm really excited.
I literally got goosebumps reading. I was driving in my car, and it's amazing. I may be stepping on it and murdering. I believe it's the Anishinaabe record of the creation story, and it's got all of the same elements of separating dark and light. And it's so cool. And here's the cooler part. Right. And I'm going to try to not steal the thunder from Mitiga because I know he's excited to talk about this. But the name of the record is Copper. Okay. And it's translated from whatever dialect that is. If it's Anishinaabe, I don't know. But, there just happens to be like a little me scratching my face being like, copper similar to brass. Do we know of any brass records that came over, 600 years BC, and this is a oral tradition and birch bark scrolls of this ancient record and wisdom that was brought across the sea, you guys. Okay, it's hundreds of pages long, and my understanding is it has a lot of information that's in the Torah. It's what it is. What it is. It's coming out, and a lot of people that have been talking smack about it, and the natives don't have these records, and where are they? I want to see them. They're coming. They're coming in April. So before we kick off, I just have one little teeny thing that I want to show. Mitiga asked us to share this. Just one second. Why isn't it loading for me? Video on it.
And while he's pulling up whatever he's pulling up here, and I put it in the chat. David Douglas is dealing with a health crisis. He's not doing very well. So if you guys can pray, it's part of the reason why we're doing the live, because he edits our video for the day. And he had to go to the hospital today. He's in the hospital right now. So just if you get a chance and you're saying your prayers tonight, just shout out David Douglas if you wouldn't mind, and be thinking of him. So prayers up for David Douglas. Hope he gets feeling better and is back with us soon.
Absolutely. Okay, so my video is not loading. So as we're talking and Heather and Hook are presenting, I'll go in and do a little behind the scenes, try to figure out how to get it to load. Maybe we'll end with it, but it's just a 60-second clip from Mitiga. And he's been a busy guy. He's been off the radar a little bit, and he's been doing a lot of work gathering the ites. For those of you guys who came out to Missouri, the intention and goal there was to try to start making some crossroads and connections between all of these churches that are our cousins, they're our brothers, it's the foundation of our church, and it was fractured at the time that Brigham left, and our group, the Brighamites, came west. And there's never been any progress with these guys coming together. There's been a lot of, pointing fingers. You guys have this doctrine wrong. You guys have this doctrine wrong. And for some reason, whether it's the time or what, but they're coming together, they're uniting. And there's a lot of neat things that Mittiga is going to talk about. And I'm really happy for him, because he's doing God's work. And, we all need to come together before we think we can create Zion. Like, how do we create Zion if our house is divided? Right. And so here we are today on this podcast talking about creating a governmental structure to usher in Zion. And essentially two things need to happen, guys, before the Savior comes. The house of God needs to be restored and cleansed, and the government needs to be restored and cleansed. A lot of us are looking towards, like, I wonder when Jesus is going to come, right? Well, we know in the scriptures, if we go to Jacob 5 and Isaiah and Mormon 8, we know that there is a regulation. We know that the end time servant and his servants are going to come, and they're gonna regulate the church, right? And some people look at that as a bad thing, being like, why does it need to be regulated? And it's not that it needs to be regulated, it's that it needs to be lifted up to a higher level. We know for a fact that the church is not fully restored, and that we're in the process of the restoration, and this will be part of it. And it must be done before Christ can return. This must be done before even Christ comes to Adam-on-Diamond. And so if we actually think that he's coming soon, then we should expect this to be coming, right? And it's going to happen in two places. It's going to happen ecclesiastically, and it's going to happen secularly, or it's going to happen with the church, and it's going to happen with the government. And we're here today to talk about the government, because we can't wait around for government to change. We have to get involved. And we're in this incredible timeline right now where, we all should be praying for the health and safety of Donald Trump, because Michael B. Rush released a video. Shane, was it today? Oh, you're on mute, brother.
Yeah, 2 days ago, he released a video, and it's like, basically, he's like, if Trump gets inaugurated and that goes through, just cancel the Ezra Eagle prophecy and the interpretation thereof. And he's like, it's a data point that I'm not even going to worry about. But part of me, I'm like, I hope Ezra Eagle doesn't come true. If you understand the prophecy, it's a nightmare. And I'm the guy that's been on here saying, hey, let's raise our vibration and let's have it not come true. I'm okay with a prophecy that is something that's crappy happening, not coming true, because we did something. And the Lord always has this caveat for all of us. It's like, but if my children repent, then they're not going to have to go through all this stuff. And I don't like the doomsday stuff. I think there's far more good people in America than there are bad people, but we just hear more from the bad people. And I'm seeing and hoping that the good people are elevating this. And so I think, like Trevor keeps saying, we are in the most incredible timeline that we can be on right now. And
that effect, as you've been talking, Shane, and I've been naysaying, I'm like, no, bro, like the Ezra's Eagle thing's going to happen. Things are going to start going sideways. And you keep saying, like, no, we can change it. As a people, we can change it. And we discovered in the scriptures, Jonah going to Nineveh, right? And we call this effect the Nineveh effect, right? And what that is the people changed. The people, hearkened, they heard, they changed, and they avoided being utterly destroyed. And so let's cross our fingers. Let's pray that Trump gets in, because there's some big stuff happening, and there's some incredible stuff happening. And it's part of this regulation of the government and the cleansing. There's literally going to be a cleansing of the deep state. We've seen with Doge, with Elon Musk and Vivek, these guys are going to gut the deep state, right? And there's going to be a massive purge. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, but a new JFK document video got released proving that LBJ was the person who ordered the assassination on Kennedy, right? This has been what the government's been covering up for 60 years. All of it's coming out. All of it's coming out. We've got
nothing shall be withheld from them, Trevor.
Yeah. And we've got the dark, dirty secrets in Hollywood that are going to come out. Like, there is a purge that is happening. And so we're going to talk today about what we can do as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You guys happy that I said that instead of Mormons? Okay, you're welcome. But what we can do as members of the church to not wait around, but start taking initiative. And so, Heather, welcome to Zion Media. And would you mind introducing yourself to everybody and kind of just talking about how you started climbing down this rabbit hole? And you're on mute, just so you know.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I was debating about jumping on my phone because there's a delay on the laptop. But anyway, so what I'm about to say and explain, I'm going to try to be as succinct and clear as I can without going into a ton of detail, because there's a lot here. But I would really encourage everyone to research and don't just take my word for what I'm telling you. I have done my own research, and I know this because I can verify all of the things that I'm going to tell you, but it can be pretty mind-blowing. And what Trevor and Shane have been talking about is just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start back and give some dates starting in about.
You start off first by letting everybody know where you're from. Are you a member of the LDS Church? Are you a mother? Like, how did you get into this?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. I don't like to talk about myself too much. Thanks for doing that. So I am a member of the LDS Church. I was born and raised, and fell off for a little bit like most people do, and came back strong as ever. And about 10 years ago, started looking into why our country is why it is today, and stumbled on some pretty crazy information. Some of it I'll share here with you, and some of you on this call may know a lot of this stuff, and was in a place in my life where I could offer myself to the Lord, and I had basically walked away from everything that was preventing me from doing what I'm doing now. And the Lord was so great in helping me, separate from all those things that were getting in the way of doing this work. And about 5 years ago, I started what's called a de jure or lawful assembly in the state of Virginia. And it was based on common law principles, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But it's based after the assemblies that were in this country before the country was founded, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But the mission has always been for me to help, Trevor, like you mentioned, people in this country to be self-governing and to govern themselves according to God's law and the way that He wanted us to. And as I go through the timeline a little bit, I'll explain more about what I mean by that. But so I've been serving in this capacity and I say serving because it's about helping others and educating others since about 2020. So if I can, I'm going to go back then in time to about 1100 AD, when the Vatican wrote a trust and basically claimed that all souls were their property. So you talk about Ezra's eagle prophecy, and my interpretation of that is not for America. It's actually for Rome, because all of the time, and I'm not going to get into this into a whole lot of detail, but so I don't know if it's going to play out in the way that Michael Rush has said. We'll just have to see. But the Vatican created this trust in 1100 AD and claimed all souls of the earth as their property. And they basically were stepping in to the position of the trustee of that trust. And they were claiming, the Pope claimed to be Christ. So this is part of the Ezra's eagle prophecy that I see as coming from Rome. The people didn't like that, of course. The barons, the wealthy landowners, didn't like being anybody else's property. And so they came out with the Magna Carta, which was a notice to the king, John, at the time, that they weren't going to pay him anymore for their land. They had put everything into a trust, and they were going to reclaim their land, essentially. So as time went on, there was this war, between good and evil, and the Vatican eventually kind of lost with Napoleon coming in and taking over the seat of the Pope by declaring himself the king and the religious leader. And that, in my interpretation, that's where that Antichrist of Ezra's eagle ends. But that's not the point here. That's just my little 2 bits there.
And let me ask you a quick question.
So,
what you're saying, because I'm curious. Are you saying,
yeah,
that's the little horn?
Yes, you could interpret it that way. Yeah, I'm just saying that my understanding of it and the studying that I've done of it, it's not a prophecy for the United States. It's actually a prophecy for Rome. So, and it's already been fulfilled. So that's just, that's my interpretation.
Who has emailed me several times trying to get on, saying that she has an entire breakdown of exactly that it's European. So okay, so in tying this in, so we're at the Magna Carta, and I want to make sure that we can keep people engaged. So stay with us here, people, because we're getting somewhere. But we're at the Magna Carta, which essentially is the foundational document for human rights, right? As I understand it, and what happens from there?
So the Magna Carta outlines English common law. It's called English common law, and they have a king in the Magna Carta. Whereas when they brought the Magna Carta principles or common law principles to America, that changed to American common law, and that was part of the platform that the people that came here from Europe, that was a part of the law that they brought with them. Now, when you think about, sorry, there's just all this information in my brain, and I'm just trying to make sure that I don't flood too much. But okay, so then if you fast forward to when the people on the Mayflower came over, before they got off the ship, they made what's called a social compact with each other, essentially setting up a form of government with the 400 or however many people were on that ship before they stepped foot on land. And that was a trust. It was a trust that they created, much like any trust, but it's a compact that they made with each other that they were going to covenant to dedicate the land to Christ. And the reason they did that is they wanted God's protection on them. They wanted to, they were here for many reasons. They wanted to get out of the thumb of the crown, but they made that social compact with each other so that they could continue and live in what they thought would be a free, land, free country. That's going to be key because, and I'll talk about what social compact is in a little bit. But it's really important that, as members of the church, especially, and as Christians, we think about that compact, that covenant that was made with God. And that has been brought forward many times. George Washington brought it forward. President Lincoln brought it forward. And some might even claim that Donald Trump brought that forward. But they made that compact, and then, other people came over and inhabited the land. And this is where it gets a little crazy, but we've all been taught, the founding fathers created the Declaration of Independence and they wrote the Constitution and all those great things. I don't know if I can share. Well, I won't share. I had a couple of documents that I was going to share with you and I was going to show you. But again, you can do your own research on this. But there's actually two different declarations of independence. And some folks may have heard of the corporation that for the United States of America. The government actually was turned into a corporation. And a lot of people have heard of the Act of 1871, that it happened through the Act of 1871. It actually happened much, much sooner than that. In fact, those that signed one of the constitutions were agents of the crown. And a constitution means a debt instrument. So if you look at Article 6 of the Constitution, it says that all debts prior to the Constitution would be brought forward in the Constitution, and that the people who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of the constitutional trust would be responsible for paying off that debt. So the people were basically, tied by the bankers. They were tied into the Constitution. They thought, or the message that was given was that it was a freeing document, but it was actually a debt instrument. And because the people owed money to the crown. And the reason they owed money to it is because the crown, the King of France, funded the Revolutionary War. And the king wanted his money back. So we did not win that Revolutionary War. I know it, we've been told that our whole lives, but we did not win that war. And the reason we know we didn't is anytime under law of nations, under the laws of war, the winner or the treaty is signed, the treaty of the war is signed on the land of the winner. And so does anybody know where the Treaty of the Revolutionary War was signed?
Versailles.
Paris, France. Yeah. Okay. So who was the winner? The King of France. So all of this stuff was, we were sold a lie, right? And we were told, we won the war and we're free. We were never free from the king, unfortunately. And the bankers, okay, the Rothschilds, the Pacers, the Rockefellers later on, but the king essentially set up the Bank of England because the King of France sold the debt to England. They set up the Bank of London. They put all of that into a trust and made the people the collateral of that trust. So every few years, that bankrupt or the debt was basically renewed. And there, and then I'll just give you another tidbit here. I'm just looking at the time. The Constitution was never lawfully ratified. And the reason it was not is there's two things. First of all, the people that signed it were esquires. They were agents to the crown. They were not non-agents, okay? Anybody that was holding a title of nobility and an esquire or an attorney, we use that term today, they were all agents to the crown. They all held, had agreements with the crown. And those were the people that signed that Constitution.
Does this go into admiralty law or what's the, not the naval, but does it tie into this?
Yeah, corporate admiralty. That's what, they created a corporation at that point, and that's what put our courts under Roman civil or corporate admiralty law of the sea.
The term bar is a borrowed term from that period. When a lawyer has to pass the bar.
Absolutely.
And bar stands for the British Accredited Registry. So all y'all attorneys that are listening to this, I got news for you. You oath to the crown. You did not take an oath to the Constitution. Or if you did take an oath to the Constitution, it was the Constitution that was signed by the agents of the crown. So, and
Heather,
again, this is all,
sorry to talk over you because we're delayed. One other thing to bring up to lay some credence in this is first off, I don't know, nor does Shane know if everything Heather's saying is right. I think it's on all of us to go in, research this, dig into it. A lot of the things I'm hearing, I have read and studied. The ratification of the Constitution thing is a new concept to me. But one thing that is extremely interesting, if you've ever considered City of London, Washington, D.C., and the Vatican are three independent nation states. And yes, exactly. And you look on our dollar bill, you've got the pyramid on the top, and that is where the power is completely consolidated. Rome is the ecclesiastical head. London is the financial head, and America is the secular head.
Right. Or the military. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right. So again, I also kind of have in your mind how this looks like for Satan. Okay. He, of course, we know since day one, he would buy up armies and navies and false priests to oppress and tyrants, and he would reign with blood and horror. And that's what he's been doing since day one. So this is just his same plan regurgitated again, and he's just playing it out. And we were told that America was the great experiment, right? And so Satan's like, hey, yeah, I'm totally taking this, and he really has. He has totally turned this free country into his beast system. And what we thought was set up as a republic or a constitutional republic was just a company where the citizens of the country are corporate employees. This is a pay-to-play system, and it didn't start out necessarily that way, but of course it's come to that. And then if you look, Hook, you and I talked when we were in Wisconsin at Mitigaw's conference about in 1820, the law that was passed. That's when the genocide for the natives started. And they did all of this behind the guise of the Corporation of the United States of America. And so it's not just for the people who are, quote unquote citizens. I mean, this has been a curtain that's been put up for Satan to essentially, take advantage of God's children and to do everything he can to try to destroy what
And
what God
Don't
has
pay attention to the
has
man behind
intended
the
for
curtain.
us.
Yeah, don't pay attention with the guy behind the curtain. So Heather, I want to because this is the perfect transition right here. I want to pop something up, and it's just the perfect timing that you said it. But are some of you guys watching? Hopefully, you're familiar with Plato's allegory of the cave. Okay, I'm going to show this video. It's a 4-minute video, and it's the illusion that humanity is under of their freedoms in society. And if anyone has not read The Republic by Plato, it's one of my favorite books I've ever read in my entire life. It's a short read. It's the foundation for democracy, in my opinion. And these guys in Greece had all this time to ponder and philosophize and think about what is the ideal society, what is the ideal government structure. And we'll talk about that later on here and things he recommended. And there's so many tie-ins to Joseph's United Order. But the Plato's Republic, I strongly urge you guys to go read it. You can find a video, you can watch it on YouTube. It's like an hour and a half long, I believe. But in this, Plato's trying to help the people understand that there's this veil, there's this curtain that's pulled over you of your freedom. And this has been happening since day one. Satan has been doing this to society since day one, and he creates and crafts this masterful plan to subjugate us. Okay, complete subjugation. And it happened in Greece, and Plato's trying to wake us up. So let me show this really quick. It's a 4-minute, great little video. And we can transition from there. Hold on a sec. Can you guys see my screen by chance?
I can see it.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and press play.
What is reality? Knowledge, the meaning of life. Big topics you might tackle figuratively, explaining existence as a journey down a road or across an ocean, a climb, a war, a book, a thread, a game, a window of opportunity, or an all too short-lived flicker of flame. 2,400 years ago, one of history's most famous thinkers said life is like being chained up in a cave, forced to watch shadows flitting across a stone wall. Pretty cheery, right? That's actually what Plato suggested in his allegory of the cave, found in Book 7 of the Republic, in which the Greek philosopher envisioned the ideal society by examining concepts like justice, truth, and beauty. In the allegory, a group of prisoners have been confined in a cavern since birth with no knowledge of the outside world. They are chained facing a wall, unable to turn their heads, while a fire behind them gives off a faint light. Occasionally, people pass by the fire carrying figures of animals and other objects that cast shadows on the wall. The prisoners name and classify these illusions, believing they're perceiving actual entities. Suddenly, one prisoner is freed and brought outside for the first time. The sunlight hurts his eyes, and he finds the new environment disorienting. When told that the things around him are real, while the shadows were mere reflections, he cannot believe it. The shadows appeared much clearer to him, but gradually his eyes adjust until he can look at reflections in the water, at objects directly, and finally at the sun, whose light is the ultimate source of everything he has seen. The prisoner returns to the cave to share his discovery, but he is no longer used to the darkness and has a hard time seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind and violently resist any attempts to free them.
Conspiracy theorist.
Plato introduces this passage as an analogy of what it's like to be a philosopher trying to educate the public. Most people are not just comfortable in their ignorance, but hostile to anyone who points it out. In fact, the real-life Socrates was sentenced to death by the Athenian government for disrupting the social order, and his student Plato spends much of the Republic disparaging Athenian democracy, while promoting rule by philosopher kings. With the cave parable, Plato may be arguing that the masses are too stubborn and ignorant to govern themselves. But the allegory has captured imaginations for 2,400 years because it can be read in far more ways. Importantly, the allegory is connected to the theory of forms.
Okay, so my interpretation of this in belief is we all are attached to these chains, looking at the projection of the world and as we know it, right? And, I've slowly started to wake up to my government isn't what I thought it was. It's kind of like when you become an adult and you're like, you find stuff out about mom and dad, but way, way, way worse, right? And as you start to wake up, all of a sudden you notice things and we're labeled as conspiracies, right? And so you leave the cave, you go outside, your eyes are awakened, and you're starting to see the world for what it is, right? And once you realize it, you feel like, oh my gosh, it was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. And what do? You rush back into the cave and you start to tell your family and friends. And what do? They shame you. They say, oh, you're crazy. Like this is reality. Those are conspiracy theorists. And it's a tool and it's a mechanism to enslave us, right? Plato was trying to inspire in us the idea of awakening our own enlightenment. And he goes on and talks about the ideal form of government, and that is a government of philosopher kings, right? And a philosopher king in his parlance is essentially like King Mosiah, right? It is a righteous worship king, and he believes that's the only proper form of government. Inside of that, there's a whole lot of other parallels that we could tie into, but I wanted to show that and kick it back to you, Heather, as far as where we are today, and now that as we're starting to awake, right? Now as we're starting to recognize, I don't remember if it was Mormon or Moroni that says, you're awakening to the awful situation that we're in. We're in an awful situation, you guys. It is time to awake, and nobody's coming to save us. I mean, Jesus is, but nobody's coming to save us until that day, and it's on us to step up, and that's the purpose of this podcast. So Heather, back to you.
So before I go on to how we are today, I'll just tell you that before the Declaration of Independence was written and before the Articles of Confederation were written, the people on this land in the colonies were meeting in assemblies. They called them committees of safety at the time. They were meeting at the county and the township levels. This was in the late 1600s, early 1700s, all the way up until the Civil War, when President Lincoln put this country under martial rule and disbanded the assemblies. And the assemblies were basically formed by these compacts that I talked about earlier. They were a way of the people governing. Okay, this was a Republican form of government, and it was the people would make decisions at their county level, and then they would send representatives or delegates up to the state level or the colony level, and that's how the Constitutional Congress, and I'm talking about the pre-Constitution, where they wrote the Articles of Confederation. Those people were sent from their committees of safety, from their assemblies, to the Congress, where they wrote the Articles of Confederation and the Declaration of Independence. So that is where we're trying to get back to today. And that's why I started our assembly here in Virginia, is because I understood the importance of, and I still understand the importance of self-governance. And, sorry, I did so many things going on in my brain. So if you look now at where we are, and then you can fast forward actually even to 1933, okay, or before that 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was passed. That's when the Federal Reserve Bank came in. They started issuing birth certificates, and when you were given a birth certificate, it was actually a bond. Your mother signed it. She was signing over your
in chattel at that point.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And Edward,
it's a paper that ties something to financial document. They use it with cattle, right? So, but literally, it's called chattel. And as
Yeah.
tied it to the Federal Reserve Act, all of us are essentially chattel to taxes.
And it gets even better, actually, because then in 1933, FDR signed Proclamation 2040, which was an amendment to the Trading with the Enemy Act. And the Trading with the Enemy Act, under the Proclamation 2040, made all of us enemies of the state. And so then he declared a banking emergency, and that's when they made it unlawful for people to actually own gold. And that's when they told everybody in the country that they needed to turn their gold in, that they would be compensated, with gold certificates. And of course, 7 years later, the value of those certificates went totally down the tube, and the people were never really reimbursed for the value of their gold. So, and we could spend hours and go down a ton of rabbit holes about where that has gone. But it's supposed to be back. Trump apparently brought it back. But anyway, it goes all this stuff is tied together. Our birth certificates, we're chattel. Those bonds are sold on the stock market. The corporation is making money off of our all capital letters name, which you've probably heard of, straw man. And so after learning about all this stuff, I wanted to know if there was a way out, because we've all been, put into this beast system. And I call it the beast system. It is a satanic system, in my opinion. It's the way that we're being controlled. It's the way Satan has control over us. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints signed into this system when they became a 501c3 in whatever year it was. And if you really read closely to President Benson's warnings when he was prophet and before, and we all know that he served as as head of Department of Agriculture during President Taft's presidency. And he warned the church many times about the government. And he said, we need to be careful. They can be a secret society. He warned us. And unfortunately, the church fell into that. Let me back up to Joseph Smith, because when Joseph Smith set up the School of Prophets, one of the main goals of that School of Prophets was to help the church establish its kingdom on earth. That included self-governance. That included, we're told in the Doctrine and Covenants, assemble yourselves, right? Okay. And that was a commandment from God. And God was telling Joseph Smith, these are the things that you need to do. You need to have a bank. You need to have a government. This is how there was a lot of direction that God was trying to help the church follow, so that they would be protected and so that they wouldn't have to contract with the corporate United States. And unfortunately, the church was not able to do that. So God finally said, okay, you kids aren't listening. So you're going to have to take the slow, low road, right? I was trying to get you to take the high road and you wouldn't do it. You weren't listening. So go ahead, contract with the corporate United States, become a 501c3, and fast forward to today, and look what happened during COVID. Who shut the temples down? Who shut the churches down? The church didn't. The government did.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's because they are contracted with the corporation of the United States of America. The church, unfortunately, does not have a say. They just don't. When it comes to their corporate side, they don't have a say. Of course, the prophet is the spiritual leader and the director, but the organization of the church is unfortunately tied to the corporate United States.
I have a question. And by the way, shout out to Mitiga, just joined the live stream. What's up, brother? And Hook I heard you talk about this. I've heard Mitiga talk about this. And it's a really creative, brilliant concept for the church to get out of the thumb of the government. And it's through the natives and the Indian reservations. Can you talk about that concept a little bit?
Can I get my 2 cents in there?
That's what I said to you.
I know not everybody's going to be a big fan of the show Yellowstone. Okay, but
I love it.
The final scene or the final episode that was just shown a few weeks ago, it shows how they beat the system by selling the land to the natives, and they were able to retain their
ruined
ranch. Okay,
you got to say spoiler alert, Hook.
Okay, but that's what I'm trying to talk to you. I've been trying to tell you guys about this for a long time. It doesn't come out easy for me because I'm not a smooth talker. But what I want to know, I want people to understand, is that we actually may get into situations like that, like on the show, Yellowstone, where folks are going to come to Native Americans and go, because you got sovereign rights, you guys, they can't come after you if you own the land.
Yeah, I've heard Mitiga talk about it.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've heard Mitiga talk about it, and it's brilliant. He's like, we literally could give them a checkmate.
That's right. And they really, I'm sorry for the term I'm going to use, but they really hurt those businessmen, the people that were trying to commercialize upon the ranch. You know what I mean? They really hurt them bad. And that's what I think is coming. I think there's going to be situations throughout America where that will be the situation. And Native Americans are going to help people retain their fortunes and their legacies, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm here tonight, you know, because I want to bring that angle into it.
Absolutely.
And so
yeah, I mean,
I think
it's curious to question and ponder what the blossom like a rose thing really means. You know, it's a metaphor that I always think about it. I'm like, what exactly does that mean? But yeah, so essentially, and thanks, because like I said, I've heard you talk about it as well. I've heard Mitiga talk about it, and I'm sure you guys as natives like sit around when we're not here being like, these guys are idiots. We have the whole solution for them. It's like right here.
I personally believe that the church may have to come to the Native Americans to save their fortune.
That's what I'm saying.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen, but right now, I don't even think that. I think it's possible that they're so tied to the bar system. They're so tied to the lawyer system. The lawyers and the apostleship are so tied to that system. They don't even know this option exists.
Yeah, I want to bring back Deseret, and I love Deseret. Like, let's bring back Deseret. Let's get off of this horrible system that we're in. And I know that the deep church is watching right now. Analysts, like, what are you guys doing? Like, come on. Like, you're a $740 billion organization. You got $200 billion in cash in the money market. Like, let's make a move. Let's get out of this system.
You know, we have 4 analysts assigned to our channel at the church to watch everything that we're saying, everything that we're doing. So if you got anything, hopefully they'll take this if they don't already know about it, and at least explore it and say, hey, is this an opportunity? But maybe they've already made their deal. And
they either have a great poker face, or they know nothing about this.
No, they 100% know. These guys are almost $1 trillion organization.
You know what I'm saying? So
okay, so bring it back on track.
And can I just say a couple? Yeah, no, I love it. A couple things I want to mention here. So, this is scriptural, right? This is in the Book of Mormon, all over the Book of Mormon, right? I mean, it's in the Doctrine and Covenants, right? We're just watching prophecy and scripture being fulfilled. And when you talk about the natives, okay, it occurred to me, my son and I, you know, we read the scriptures every day, and we were coming to the end of December. We were done with the Book of Mormon assignment for the year. And so we were going back and reading some of the scriptures in the Book of Mormon, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, wait a minute. The scrolls that are coming out from the Ojibwe and the Algonquin, the copper scrolls, those are a second witness of the Book of Mormon. Okay? The Book of Mormon is a witness to the Bible, but what's the witness to the Book of Mormon? The witness to the Book of Mormon are these scrolls. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, and we're seeing
that too, and that's the reason why I clung on to Mitiga in the beginning. Like, I was so excited that there was anybody out there that was giving this second witness, and it boggles my mind that there's members that are so scared of this. Are you kidding me? Like, we got somebody saying that there's other records that are validating the Book of Mormon. Like, if that's true, and if it does validate it, like, checkmate. Mormons got the checkmate.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heather.
So the other piece that I
sorry, the delay is killing us here. I apologize. So how do we now transition this? Because we're almost an hour in, and what I'd like to pivot to now is, if you read the title of our description, we talk about the fact that we're not going to wait. We can't wait for Trump to do this. We can't wait for the church to do this. We can do things ourselves to start making this move. And I know that the people that are here, the people that are watching, the people that are on our Discord, and by the way, if you're not on Zion Media's Discord and this is speaking to you, get on there. If you don't know what a Discord is, it's an app. It's really basic. I mean, think of it like, if you're old school, think of it as like Facebook Messenger, okay? And you can get in there and you can chat with us. You can find me right now and message me, and I'll message you at 3 a.m, okay? But it's people that are coming in and they're being like, I feel compelled to do something. I'm feeling called. What can I do? And all of a sudden in there, people are collaborating. They're coming up with ideas. They're doing stuff on their own. And that's what this is about. And the purpose of this meeting, and what Heather's going to talk about right now, is what can we do in our local communities to start laying the groundwork for this right now.
So I love the title that you guys chose, Building Zion, Our Responsibility When the Lord and the Prophet Stay Silent. The reason they are silent, or the prophet has been silent, I think, is because God is giving us download after download after download, and he's wanting us to listen, not to the prophet necessarily, but to him. And so if we hear him, he's going to teach us. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, all of this stuff, everything from day one is a trust. Okay? You look at Adam and Eve, when they made a covenant with God and they were married in the Garden of Eden, they were forming a trust with God. God was the trustee, they were the beneficiaries. Okay? When the Constitution was written, and Hugh, you might be able to speak to this, when you talk about treaties with the natives, we all are forming a trust. That was a constitutional trust where the founders or the government was supposed to be the trustee and the people are the beneficiaries. Okay? So it's the same thing today. My assembly is coming under a trust. We are not there just yet, but we are forming a trust with my assembly. It's called a PMA, okay, a private membership association. That's what it says on paper. And if those people, those analysts from the church that are listening, if you guys want to get out, if you want to get the church out from under the thumb of the corporation, turn it into a PMA. And I can help you. I have people that will do it for you for less than $2,000. You can bring church under a PMA and you can get it out. Everything becomes private. It's yours. You have the church, or the government will have no say in anything that the church does. So you form an assembly. It only takes 3 people in your county. That's it. And once you form that assembly, you start meeting together. You get under what's called a PMA, a private trust, and then you start forming your government. And you can base it on scripture. You can base it on, whatever you want. I mean, we're talking about forming a kingdom of heaven on earth. Okay. That's done under trust law. You make Christ the trustee of your trust and the people the beneficiaries. And the reason it has to be done.
How do we, so I don't know if you followed The Simpsons, but there was a time where Homer Simpson, he formed his own, he went off out of America and created his own government, right? How, to me, there's sovereignty issues, right? There's sovereignty issues, there's legalities, I mean, I live in Kaysville. Shane lives in Farmington, and I can't imagine us being able to form something, put a stake in the ground, and, it's being like, this is New Zion land, right? We're not going to be recognized. We're still subject to every single thing that we have here. And so walk me through that, because I understand what you're saying conceptually, but really, does it give us anything?
Yeah, it does. So a couple of things. I know the Simon's prophecy. Someone said that in the chat. Or the Simpsons prophecy, sorry. So there is a group of people back in 2009 who learned about all this stuff, how the government was never really a government. There were 2 declarations of independence. The Constitution was not ratified. Out of that, they learned that the states were never claimed, or they were never really turned into states. And the reason they weren't is because the people did not claim the metes and bounds of the land. Okay. So when you form an assembly, you are going to give notice. It's under common law. It's called public notice. And it's just like if you were in the post at the center of town and you posted something up on a building or a tree that says I am an assembly. It's a lawful assembly. We're doing it under God's law, and this is the name of the assembly, and you don't even have to say who's in it. But if you understand trust law, it works because God's trust law is the highest law of the land. Okay. And giving public notice under trust law, you give the notice and then you wait 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, however long you want to do it. You actually give notice 3 times. If no one comes back and says, I don't agree with that, then it becomes law. Okay. So again, it sounds really, vague. It sounds, that's too easy to do. But that's how trust law works. And I'll give you another example. These bankers, okay, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, Hazors, we could go on and on. These families, the JP Morgans, they set up their own trusts. And that's how they've been able to pass all their wealth through generations, is through trust law. You trust, and that's why PMAs are so important, and they work, okay? The government is a PMA. The banks are all PMAs. They're all private institutions working under trust law. That's why they can't be taken down. So we're using that same law for ourselves, set up our own governance, okay? This is another concept that is probably going to be really hard for people to wrap their heads around. It took me a little bit of time myself to wrap my head around it, but it is possible to have 2 governments operating in parallel. Okay. You get to determine which government you want to live under. Do you want to stay under Trump's government, under the Republic, under the Constitution, the Corporation of the United States of America? Or do you want to form your own government using trust law? You can do either. If you decide to form your own, like I said, there's a process that you can go through, and I can help people with that. If you want to reach out to me, I'm working with a group of people that know how to do it. It's lawful. They have set up their own government, and they are operating in parallel, and the current corporate government actually recognizes them. I just talked with the Secretary of State of this government today. He gave us training last night on our assembly.
So let me throw some commentary.
There's a whole of detail. It's kind of hard to go.
I'm going into Chat GPT, and I'm asking it. I asked it, can trust laws create independence from local and federal governments? Okay. And it says trust law can provide certain degrees of independence from local and federal governments, but this independence is not absolute. Trusts are powerful tools for asset protection, privacy, estate planning, but they still must operate within the legal frameworks of established local governments. Here's how trusts can and cannot create independence. So it sounds like we're able to we can take back some of our freedoms. We can take back our privacy and confidentiality, assets and probate, asset protection, control over distribution, control over jurisdictional arbitrage, but we still have regulatory local compliance. Like we still have to obey the laws of the land that we're in. Is that your understanding?
Okay, so there's another piece to this. It's called that bilateral social compact. Do you remember I mentioned that a little bit ago, and how the people on the Mayflower made that compact? Okay, under the Law of Nations, that's a book you'll want to read. It's about an 800-page book, but it's a fast read. And Midiga is putting in the chat, international trust. Okay. This is what the bilateral social compact is. It's an international trust, okay? And under the Law of Nations, if you sign a bilateral social compact with whatever group you want to have your government under, that creates your nation. And every single, not every single, but most of the constitutions of the states of the United States talk about a social compact of some kind, and it says in those constitutions that people have equal rights under social compacts. And in the Law of Nations, by the way, is a book that is it's accepted by every single country on earth as a guide, if you will, for setting up countries. In fact, if you want to be recognized as a nation, you have to follow the steps in that book, Law of Nations. You have to follow the principles in that. And like Midiga said,
who wrote Law of Nations?
I can't remember his name. He was a German, and he wrote it in the early 1700s, and maybe it was in 1700s, and it was translated into English about 2 years. It was about 1774 is when it was translated into English.
Amir Dave Patel. And by the way, ChatGPT did validate what Midiga said. I didn't ask it. It said it below it. It says, however, international trust can create deeper protection and sovereignty. So big yawn, Heather. Big yawn. You can't yawn on this show, Heather.
No. I was coughing. Sorry. It looked like I was yawning. Throat dry, dry throat. So you set up that social compact, and that's how you create your own separate local government. Like I said, this group back in 2009 did this, and they claimed the states for all the people. They claimed their own assembly, their own government, and the United States corporate government recognizes them as a parallel lawful government. And these people are totally out of the corporation. They don't pay taxes. They have their own IDs. They have their own stamps. They have their own bank. They have their own post office. So it's really, truly,
where do these people live?
You know, There's there's one or two, one in Massachusetts, one in Texas, one in Arizona, Pennsylvania. They're all over the country, and they've set up this national framework, and they're holding, like I remember I said, they claimed the states under international law, and they're holding them in trust so that when the people assemble themselves, and there's enough assemblies in every state, they will give that trust back over to the people of the states.
Okay, so
but the way to do that is
I stepped on you again. Let's go into practicality now, and in kind of winding this thing down and up. So conceptually, I get it, right? And we're essentially saying, hey, listen, let's individually in our own communities, in our own society, maybe with local members, maybe with other like-minded people, liberty lovers, let's start creating these communities and reclaiming our independence. But practically, what benefits is that giving you?
Well, it's pulling you out of the beast system. Okay. So you're not going to have to pay taxes anymore. You don't have to ask for permission, because right now you have to ask for permission to drive your car. You have to ask for permission to get married. You have to ask for permission to, buy something at the store or to travel somewhere. And you don't have to do that anymore. Not only that, we can bring God back into our lives. We can bring him back into our schools. We can bring him back into the stores. We can bring him back into the libraries, right? He will be the focal point. And this is going back to what, God commanded Joseph Smith to do, and that the people of the church were not really able to do, of course, because they had all kinds of persecution. But this way, and again, we just don't have enough time here to really go over all the detail. But this would allow us to start gathering people and bringing.
Sorry, I always try to jump in, and
Sorry, what was that?
Okay, so this right here, OI's got a really, really good point. I've heard actually Morgan Philpott talk about this. So if you get enough people in a county that you elect a county sheriff, there's no legal enforcement authority higher in the country than a local sheriff. It's one of the reasons why Sheriff Joe Arpaio was so powerful. Okay, so I want to make sure to put a major disclaimer out there for YouTube, for the federal government. Zion Media is not endorsing not paying your taxes and your tithing, just so you know. So we're not endorsing that. We're not recommending you guys do that. We're having a philosophical conversation, a theoretical conversation about some solutions that different people are taking. And so don't rely on us for this. Heather sharing her knowledge of what she's learning. So just wanted to say that and put it out from a disclaimer standpoint.
Yeah, no, that's great, Trevor. But what you can do also is go read the tax code. Title 26 of the USC is the tax code. It's the big, huge 2,000-page tax handbook. And you look in the first couple of pages, and it tells you that title was basically canceled out in 1956. Income taxes are voluntary, and it says it in tax code handbook. So just so you know, go read the tax code. You can volunteer out of paying taxes, and you can do it lawfully. So anyway, this is a way to do that.
It sounds like tithing, but you just you don't get your temple recommend. It's voluntary. So it would be cool if the government actually gave us something better if we did pay, our taxes, like you get your temple recommend on that. Okay. So in wrapping up, Heather, I want to give you and Hook an opportunity to kind of just final thoughts. Same with Shane. How would you like to put a pin in this and transition? Obviously there's so much that we covered that we could do an hour on 5 different subjects that I talked about. Shane, I want to do a podcast on the United Order, and the parallels to, I've had ChatGPT write up the parallels to Plato's,
which is what they were attempting to establish, and really had the best opportunity to create something like that when they came into the Utah Valley. I think a podcast on that would be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So Heather, wrap it up for us.
I don't know what is coming. You know, I mean, we know what the prophecies are saying. We know what the scriptures are telling us. We don't know how it's going to go down. We don't know if Trump is, you know, he's giving hints saying that he's going to return the government back to the people. I don't know what that looks like, but I do know that it is our responsibility to take dominion over this land, and not over other people. We take dominion over ourselves, but we take dominion over this land. And we made a promise to the Lord when we were baptized that we covenanted with him to share his gospel and to gather. And this is a way to do that outside of the satanic beast system that we have been, brought under. I also see that, the work that Midiga is doing and that Hook has talked about. I mean, what an incredible opportunity, to unite and to bring all of us together. And how great would that be to do it outside of this government umbrella that we've been under? So, again, I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know, the scriptures also tell us that we may be getting into tribes, and not like, tribes like what Midiga and Hook are familiar with and what they grew up with and know, but groups outside of this, corporation is my opinion. But I do think it's a way to build Zion. I think it's a way that we're going to move toward this. In my opinion, that's what I see. And it's a way of living God's law. It's a way to step back into that original trust that he created for us, if we're willing to do that. But you've got to pray about it. You've got to do more research. But if you are in that place and this speaks to your heart, just let me know and I can help you out.
And Heather, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to contact you if they do have questions? Where can they find you?
So you can go to Virginia Jural Assembly, and it's just Virginia, and then Jural is Jural assembly.com. And you can fill in the contact page, and that message will come right to my email, and I'll get back to you.
I highly recommend that you join our Discord and get in the Discord. You'll have a ton of people connecting with you. It's so easy. It's so fast. It's also something you can turn off notifications if it's annoying to you. But there are communities inside of there. I think it says Building Zion, and once you get inside of there, ask some of the moderators how to create your own channel inside of that. And we can have a whole entire topic with all these threads. You can load resource documents and links, and people can find you there. And I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people. I think it's going to create, the thinking needs to go on. There's a lot of us that are outside of Plato's cave. And now that we're outside, we're frustrated. We don't know what to do. And we're looking for answers, and these might be the right answers for some of you. And if it resonates, get in there. So get on our Discord, guys. Heather, get in there. Hook, we need to have you in there. People have asked about you in there. And Hook, I want to give you a chance for final thoughts. By the way, Hook's the one that lined this up. He's like, you guys, we got to have Heather on. And so we appreciate you jumping on. You're on mute, Hook, but final thoughts?
Yeah, my brother and I have really been working a lot on this. We've looked at different ideas. We've looked at what, people selling to natives would look like. We've looked at trying to use the Book of Mormon in a court of law to show that the natives were Christian before Columbus. And we've looked at a lot of different things, and it's just, I don't think it's going to change in that particular way. Maybe that angle is not the correct angle. And so I don't know if people are really following me when I say, we've looked at using the Book of Mormon in a court of law, because we have 12 witnesses for the plates. Okay. We've looked at that. Is it any good? Can we use it? I don't know. But I know for a fact that Native Americans were Christian long before Columbus. And can that be an item that can be used maybe later? Maybe it can.
And the impact and justification and ramification of that, in case you're not connecting the dots that Hook's laying here, is this ties back to manifest destiny. Okay.
Yeah.
This ties back to the claiming of everything, all of the land.
Under manifest destiny, or what is called Christian discovery doctrine, the European nations just swiped this land, took it.
Yes. And what it is, guys, if you don't know, is from papal decree through direction of the Jesuits, they basically said, you can take anything in that new land if they're not Christians. And so
they're not Christian.
Of proving the Book of Mormon as a record and taking that to court, being like, no, my people were. Mitiga bringing up these birch bark scrolls, right? If these birch bark scrolls, if we find out inside of this that these guys believed in Christ, the peacemaker, Jesus, as Mitiga calls him, there is legal ramifications that people are terrified about. It's not a good thing for manifest destiny, essentially.
Okay, now everybody thinks Joseph Smith was. There's a few people in the church that think that Joseph Smith was martyred over polygamy, over the issues of the day. But let me tell you another idea that I'm pretty sure of now.
Okay.
Joseph Smith was martyred because he was building alliances with Native Americans. And he was running for president. And he had a good chance to win. Okay?
Well, I don't know if he had a good chance to win, but
I think he had a good chance to win. If it had gone through, I think it's a possibility he could have won. They killed him just before the election.
Yeah, I mean, he was
months before the election.
He was spending it like 2 to 3 points. So it could have been. A lot of times people run for president, as you guys know, to get their name out there, and you'll run another cycle and another cycle to get that. And so I'm not saying that he couldn't eventually. He wasn't going to win on that time. But I understand what you're saying completely. So you've got a hypothesis. You need to come up with.
Can I add something about Joseph Smith?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I add something about that really quick? The Christian sects at the time knew that Joseph Smith was the prophet of the restoration, because it was prophesied in Daniel and in Isaiah, and they knew it. And that's another reason that they murdered him. Because and Hook, I think you're absolutely right too. I think the natives, he was friends with them and promoting them, and trying to help in their save them, because they were genocided. So anyway, that's part of it. But they knew who he was, and Satan was not having it.
So you hear that, Justin Griffith, creator of Who Killed Joseph Smith? Hook's got another movie for you, and plot twist, it wasn't Brigham Young, it wasn't John Taylor, it was somebody else, and we need to write the script on that. But that's an interesting concept, Hook. I like having different angles of that. I didn't like that movie. It didn't give me a good feeling. I don't know if any of you guys saw that movie. I felt it was very well done. I went to the premiere at it. I thought it was extremely well done, but I feel like it was just, a CSI hypothesis of what happened. And I'm not going to throw Brigham Young under the bus that far. Okay. Well, appreciate you guys jumping on. Shane, any thoughts, final words before we chill out of here?
No, I mean, I hear what everybody is saying here. I'm probably the guy that is like, from a practical standpoint, I don't know how this happens in our current setup, but I do see that potentially there's a day where the United States becomes bifurcated through whether it's war or through something like that, and you end up in a European type of segment. And maybe that's how Zion gets created. I don't know. I would love to just see Trump come in here, buy Canada, buy Greenland, and turn this whole thing into Zion, get rid of all this corporation stuff. And maybe Donald John Trump, the Trump sounding, just maybe he's the mighty and strong one. Maybe he's the one that's going to bring the restoration of all things. Who knows? Stay tuned. They certainly don't want him alive. They're coming after him. So we got 5 more days for him to get in there. So fingers crossed. And if he does, look out.
I'm not totally on the Trump bus either. Okay, he has a chance of double crossing us.
Oh, sure,
he does
for sure.
Okay, so I just want you to understand that. Okay, he has a chance of double crossing us.
And in the end, guys, in the end, it's all about what are we going to do? Because nobody but Christ is our savior, and Trump can only do so much. It's up to the people. It's up to us.
Yep, 100%. So thank you guys for jumping on. I want to do a couple shout outs. I would like you guys, if you haven't, to go and click like on this video. If something in here resonated with you, share it, please. A lot of people ask us all the time in the Discord on this, like, how can I help? Is there anything I can do to help? Sharing this and getting us subscribers is the best way that you guys can help. It legitimately is the best way to amplify this message and help. So, go out of your way, get someone to subscribe on their phone, family, friends, anyone that is out of Plato's cave. Because I can tell you what, Zion Media does not resonate well with members that are still stuck inside Plato's cave. There's a scarcity, there's a fear, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it. And that means they're not ready. And it's too much to share some of this stuff with them. But share this, guys, and please like this, comment on this. It always absolutely helps us get this message out. Appreciate you guys jumping on. We got a lot of good stuff coming. There's some really cool announcement that Mitiga's excited to share, and we're glad to be getting back in touch with him, hearing what he's doing. And so I want you guys to join our Discord. If you're not in there, it's a way that you can find all of us. Technically, Shane doesn't know how to log in, so you can't find Shane. But if you can get a hold of me, I can get a hold of Shane. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys coming out here, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the night.
Please tell me you have a Netflix song. Oh, yes. This is my favorite song. Stay tuned for this song.
Trevor, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams. Then you hit your teens, life ain't really what it seems. Try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah. Fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine, yeah. Everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.